Hey, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome back to my YouTube channel here and my weekly NFL picks. Making sure my mic's on. My mic is definitely on. Because we did that one time when the mic was not on an entire video. That was embarrassing. And of course, that one video was just on my face the whole time, like it is right now. So last week I did not do too well. Let's go ahead and jump over here to the good old spreadsheet. Last week, out of 13 games, I got 8 correct. I got 5 wrong. That's straight up. Now, against the spread, I was under 500 against the spread. It was not a good week for my picks last week. And, of course, it wasn't a good week for the Kansas City Chiefs either. So, we're going to rebound this week. Here in week 14, we're going to get back on track. We're going to have 70 or we're going to hit 75% on both. So, I believe we actually have 16. Is that right? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. That's not right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Who's on bye? Somebody's on bye this week? There's 2 teams on bye? Hold on. We got to verify this. Arizona and Washington are on bye. That is insane to have a bye in week 14. Okay, so we're out of 15. So let me... So it's out of 14. I'm sorry, it's out of 15. Here we go. We're changing formulas on the fly. Okay. Why is this? That's weird. Okay. That way we can... Okay, got to get the formatting correctly. Okay, let's go ahead and start with tomorrow night's game: New England at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is a 6-point favorite in this game. Look, the Patriots probably should be firing their coach, but I don't know if you can fire Bill Belichick with 6 Super Bowl rings. Even though Kevin Wild says he has 8, he has 6 as a head coach. The Patriots are not good. I don't even know how they beat the Buffalo Bills this year. But Pittsburgh is not playing that well either. They had that 1-game bump from Matt Canada being fired. Then last week they laid a complete egg, and then Kenny Pickett got hurt. Not that Kenny Pickett was this great quarterback anyway, but he's definitely better than what New England has. I am going to go ahead. We're going to go ahead and go with the Steelers here to get the win, but I am going to go with the Patriots to cover just because Pittsburgh's starting a backup quarterback. This is a game that the Patriots actually probably could steal. I am going to pick the Patriots to keep it within 6 points. I can spend a lot of time on that. It's just, who cares? I'm not watching that game tomorrow night. Tampa Bay taking on the Atlanta Falcons. Atlanta's in first place by default in the NFC South. So this game is actually for the division lead, as Tampa Bay could win this game and pull into a deadlock tie with the Falcons. I don't know, did they play already this year? Okay, so Atlanta beat them. So if Tampa wins, then it's going to be tied. They'll split 1-1, so it'll go to another tiebreaker. And we're not going to go down the road on what the tiebreakers are with the NFC South, because quite frankly, I don't care. I don't think you care either. In this game, the Falcons are definitely playing better than Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay started the season off 3-1, but they've gone 2-6 in their last 8 games. Atlanta, I think they're actually back to Desmond Ridder as their starting quarterback, if I'm not mistaken. But FPI's got a slight leaning towards Tampa Bay. I'm just going to go with the home team here with the Atlanta Falcons. It's not that I have a one way or the other. I don't know a ton about either of these teams other than their starting quarterbacks. Neither of these teams are that good. but probably one of them is going to be in the playoffs, which is pretty ridiculous. Probably the Atlanta Falcons. So I'm going to go with the Falcons here. I'm going to pick them, and I'm going to have the Falcons winning by covering the 1.5 point spread. Lions and Bears. Lions had a nice rebound game last week after their embarrassing loss on Thanksgiving to the Packers. Not that losing the Packers is embarrassing because my Chiefs lost to the Packers, but it was the way they lost was embarrassing. Chicago did win. I think they won last. Yeah, they won last week. Chicago's actually fared decently against the spread. They're just right under 500 against the spread, 5-6-1. The Lions, though, I'm gonna go with the Lions here to beat the Bears, and I'm gonna pick them also to cover the 3.5 points. The Lions are just a better football team than the Chicago Bears, who are still trying to find an identity at quarterback. I really think they need to move on from Justin Fields at this point, but again, what do I know? I'm just some guy in a spare bedroom making a video. Colts and Bengals. So this is an interesting game. The Colts really surprised me. Winning last week in overtime. Was it overtime? Yeah. No, wait. See, this is why I shouldn't do this on the fly. I should do a little tiny bit of research. Yeah, they beat the Titans in overtime, 31-28. The Colts, Gardner Minshew, like I've said before, is not going to embarrass you as a quarterback. But the thing with the Bengals, we kind of wrote the Bengals off as they were toast. But Jake Browning played very well last week in a win. The Bengals won in overtime. That's right. Who they beat? I can't remember who they beat. Oh, they beat the Jaguars. That's right, because Trevor Lawrence got hurt. In this game, so the Colts are a 1-point favorite on the road. I actually think the Bengals are going to pull this off, and people are going to start talking about the Bengals getting back in potentially the playoff race. I think they still could sneak in, but we'll see. We'll see what happens there. But I think the Bengals will get the better of the Colts. This is going to be big for seeding purposes. I mean, if the Bengals still have a shot to get in, even though their schedule is tough down the stretch, it's going to be really, really. This game's going to have a major, major impact. The Colts have played better than their 7-5 record. The Bengals, obviously, they looked a lot better last week against the Jaguars. So that gives me some hope for them that they'll come back and turn it around here potentially and maybe sneak in the playoffs. And no one wants to face them because their defense is pretty good. Jacksonville taking on the Cleveland Browns. So Jacksonville's going to be without Trevor Lawrence for a little bit of time. Not exactly sure how long he's going to be out. The interesting thing is that he suffered the same injury that Patrick Mahomes suffered in the playoffs, but Mahomes still played. Now, the playoffs are a different animal than the regular season, and Mahomes is his workout regimen is very, very strenuous, but it keeps him in good shape. The Cleveland Browns, I'm still trying to figure out who they are as a team. Now, they're a 3-point favorite here. The line is only 30 points. So they're thinking this is going to be a very low-scoring game. I don't know anything about the Jacksonville Jaguars backup quarterback. I couldn't even tell you his name. I think he led a drive there at the end, but they came up short, if I'm not mistaken. I might be confusing two different games. Forgive me, but Jacksonville, their defense really, I think, got exposed last week by Jake Browning and the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, the Browns don't have the same kind of offense that the Bengals do, or at least the skill-type positions, but they do have, I think they have a better defense, and I think they're going to give problems to the Jaguars. I'm going to pick the Browns to get the win and to cover the 3 points as well. I think Jacksonville is, I'm not sure if Lawrence is out. I mean, Lawrence is the reason why they are where they are. Now they've got a good running back. I don't necessarily they have a good defense, but without Trevor Lawrence, that team is really not doing much of anything. Panthers and the Saints. Again, that's another game I'm not going to spend a lot of time on because I don't care about the Panthers. I am going to pick the Saints to win and to cover the 5-point spread. There you go. That's all you need to know about the Panthers and the Saints. Terrible matchup. There'll probably be like 17 people watching that game. Texans and the Jets. Texans. I'm going to go with the Texans to get the win here. Obviously, Zach Wilson is back as the starting quarterback. Is this like the fourth time he's been named the starter by the Jets? What the Jets have done this year is almost criminal to their fans in terms of how they've treated this quarterback situation. That being said, I don't think their team is as good as they thought it was, including their defense, including some of their skill position players. Houston obviously sitting at 7-5. They're now trying to pick off wins in position to make a good case for where they're going to fall in the playoff race. I would say for a wild card, but let's go ahead and let's look to see where they are actually. So this is interesting. Let's go ahead and I'm gonna put this over here so we can look at it here. So in the AFC South, Houston, Indianapolis are both 7-5, and Jacksonville's 8-4. Well, if Cleveland beats Jacksonville and Houston wins, and I have the Colts lose, is that right? I have the Colts losing. Yeah, to the Bengals. So that would put Jacksonville and Houston at both 8-5. Now Jacksonville would still be in first place in the division. Well, wait a second. No, because I think Houston's one win was against the Jaguars, wasn't it? No, they lost to the Jags. No, they split with the Jags. Okay. So Jacksonville would still technically be in first place, but the point remains is that Houston with a win here is going to get that would be a huge win for them, for their, not only for their team but for positioning in the standings in the AFC South. You could see maybe Houston getting in there if Trevor Lawrence is out for a significant amount of time. Houston could rise up there and pick off that division crown there, and Jacksonville may get relegated to a wild card team if they make the playoffs at all. So Jets obviously while they're still mathematically alive, they are not making the playoffs this year. The best they can finish is 9-8, and no one from the AFC is coming out to the playoffs with a 9-8 record. We're going to go ahead and pick the Texans to cover the points as well. Rams and Ravens. I'm actually looking forward to this game. Rams have been playing a lot better lately. The Ravens, obviously at 9-3, they sit. I think they're actually in the second seed in the AFC. I think the Dolphins actually technically have the top seed. I think they have the tiebreakers over the Ravens. I think. We have the internet. We have the interwebs right here. Let's go ahead and win percentage in common games. Yeah. So, Miami's technically the number one seed, even though they haven't really beaten anybody. So, it's all about just getting the number of wins. So, Baltimore, obviously, they want to win this game in order to stay pace with the Dolphins or possibly move ahead of them if Miami loses. We'll get to their game here in just a second. But the Rams have really fought their way back into the playoff mix. I think, if I'm not mistaken, the Rams are they're tied. So, there's a whole slew of teams here. There's 4 teams that are 6-6. So 6, 7, 8, and 9. Obviously, only 2 of those teams are going to make the playoffs. So they're right there tied for that last spot, even though they lose out on tiebreakers to both the Vikings and the Packers. So the Rams coming across country to take on the Ravens. The Ravens, obviously, Lamar Jackson. I don't know if he's still being talked about in MVP discussions. I think actually Brock Purdy is now the leading candidate in Vegas, to leading odds favorite to win the MVP, which is interesting. But maybe we'll have to make another video about that later. I do think that the Rams are going to make this game a lot closer. That's a 7-point spread. I'm going to go ahead and I already know I'm going to pick the Rams to at least cover. Now we just got to figure out who's going to win this game outright. I don't think it's going to be, if the Ravens win, it's going to be it'll be by a touchdown or less. Now I know the Ravens have gone out and blown some really good teams out recently as well. But for some reason, the Rams are one of these teams that have really turned a corner recently, surprisingly enough, and they're playing so much better than how they were in the start of the season. I'm gonna go ahead and pick the Ravens to still win this game, but I'm gonna pick the Rams to keep the game close. Vikings and Raiders. Vikings kind of they lost last week, or was the week before? They may have been on a bye last week. I can't remember. Their last loss was definitely one that was they probably shouldn't have lost. Josh Dobbs has really kind of turned back into a pumpkin. No longer the Cinderella story that he was when he first came to Minnesota, when he didn't know the playbook, didn't know the players, and just went out and played football. Then he learned the playbook and he forgot how to play. So at the end of the day, Josh Dobbs is Josh Dobbs. He's not a tremendous quarterback. He's serviceable enough to get you through. But the Raiders are also a team that is. They got a little bit of a bump when they fired their head coach. But then they lost to the Chiefs, and then they lost. I think they lost again, wasn't it? Then they lose twice in a row. They were 5-5, and they faced the Chiefs, and they lost 2 games in a row. The Raiders just simply, they're not a good football team. They're Aiden McConnell or Aiden O'Connell, whatever his name is, their rookie quarterback. I think he might have a potential future in the league. He just looks like an Oakland Raider player or a Las Vegas Raider player to me. He's just got the look. I don't know. The Raider players they have a certain look about them, and he definitely has the look. The Vikings should win this game, but I don't know if they're going to. The Vikings are just a very, very average team, and let's tell you what. Let's check them out. See, they're starting Josh. See, they didn't even know they were going to start him. Let's see, look at their injuries. Well, wait a second. Is Justin Jefferson back? He hasn't played since the Chiefs game. Is that the day he got injured? It says he's active. Where does Justin Jefferson rank among fantasy wide receivers in his return? Okay. I thought maybe there would be more information here, like from a fantasy football perspective. Okay, so this looks like Justin Jefferson is back. I'm going to go ahead. I don't really want to, but I'm going to pick the Vikings to win this game and to cover the 3 points. Yeah, I think with Justin Jefferson back, I think that'll be the difference. If he wasn't going to play, I was going to actually probably go with the Raiders. But I think the Vikings will do just enough to win this game. Probably, I see like a 27-21 type of win. Seahawks and the 49ers. The 49ers had a huge win on Monday Night Football over the Philadelphia Eagles, and blew out. Was it Monday Night Football? No, it was Sunday. It was Sunday afternoon. I'm sorry. And just completely annihilated the Eagles, especially in the second half. Just really ran away with that game. Seahawks sitting at 6-6. They are not as good. They were a team that really had a lot of aspirations to, maybe win a game or two, maybe reach the conference finals if things all went their way in the playoffs. And now they're sitting at 6-6, and they're fighting for their playoff lives with, with the likes of the Vikings and the Rams, and there was another team at 6-6 I can't remember. But yeah, the 49ers definitely playing on firing on all cylinders. Brock Purdy's playing very well. I'm going to go with the 49ers to win this game. And I'm actually going to pick them to kind of win this going away. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take them in the points. That's a 10.5 is a big number to cover, but I do think I see them winning this game by 2 touchdowns at least. Okay, the Buffalo Bills taking on my Kansas City Chiefs, and the Chiefs are one of these teams that the Chiefs have not lost back-to-back games this year, but they've been on this roller coaster ride lately. Similar to how Josh Allen, sometimes is on a roller coaster ride himself. Buffalo, this is a must-win for both teams. Now, the Chiefs are still 2-point or they are still 2 games up in the AFC West, and I think they'll still be at least 2 games up at the end of this week too, because the Chargers and Broncos play each other, and I think the Chargers are going to. We'll get to that game in a second, but sneak preview, I think the Chargers are going to win that game. So if the Chiefs fall to 8-5, at the very least they're still a game up, but more than likely still 2 games up over whoever's in second place, whether it's the Broncos or the Chargers. That being said, the Chiefs' offense has not been good lately, and yeah, there was some officiating blunders at the end of that game against the Packers. But the thing is that the Chiefs didn't play well enough through the entire game to make up for the ineptitude of the referees, and when you have to resort to blaming the referees for a loss, then your team didn't play well enough. And yes, I can go over multiple reasons of why of where the referees blew specific calls, but like take the fourth down play for example, when Jordan Love just kind of heaved the ball up on 4th and 1 when Mike Dana was clearly when the defense or the offensive tackle clearly had a hold of his face mask, drug him to the ground. It should have face mask, illegal hands to the face, holding. You could have called any one of those penalties and it would have been fine. They didn't call either one, and the pass was completed down to like the 4-yard line. And the very next play, they scored a touchdown. They don't get that fourth down, or there's a penalty called there. If it's face mask, now it's 4th and 16, and they're not going for it at that point. At 4th and 1, they're going to punt the ball because they would have been out of field goal range. And so, yeah, there was definitely calls like that they missed. But you know what? They missed calls on the Chiefs too. With Mahomes getting hit in bounds, and they called it for a late hit. Well, they didn't call it for late hit out of bounds. They called it for unnecessary roughness. So again, are we protecting the quarterbacks too much or not enough? A lot of times Mahomes doesn't get those calls. So I mean, I do like it when my quarterback gets those calls. Don't like when other quarterbacks get a call if they're questionable, but that's just me being a fan. But looking at it objectively, the Chiefs did not do enough to win that game. And the Buffalo Bills are coming in here and sitting at the number 10 spot. Is that right? Let's take a look. They're 11th. So at 6-6, they hold the 11th spot. Obviously, a win would be big for them. But I've got the Texans and Browns both winning as well, so they wouldn't jump up here even with a win. But that being said, Buffalo's in a position where they know that because of the number of losses they have in the conference, even if they only lose one more game, finishing 10-7 is because of tiebreakers. They're probably going to be on the outside looking in. There's definitely going to be a team that's 10-7 that makes the playoffs from the AFC. But the Bills are probably not going to be that team. If they are 10-7, there's probably going to be a different 10-7 team that makes it. Unless, things just kind of fall apart for some other teams and they have sole possession of one of the seeds with a 10-7 record. Now, can they win their last 5 and get to 11-6? Well, yes, any team can win every game, but I present to you Exhibit A, their record. They're 6-6, and they're 6-6 for a reason. They're 6-6 because they're inconsistent play, game in to game out. Josh Allen is actually having, statistically, other than his interceptions, he's having a very fine season, but he's just turning the ball over too much at critical points, and they're getting off to really horrendous starts in some of these games. Like, you look back at the Giants game, the Patriots game. Obviously, they beat the Giants, but barely. The Giants probably should have beat them. The Bills there very easily could be 4-8 or 3-9. Conversely, they could also be 10-2 or 9-3. Their games have been that close, even the games that they've lost, and they probably shouldn't have lost to the Eagles. But again, it's one of those things where they were not playing consistent enough, when it really mattered. But look, the Buffalo fans know this. The Kansas City fans, we've been kind of spoiled with what Mahomes has done for us this year. Or done in years past. And so what's happening this year with the Chiefs, especially over the last 5 games, has been very unprecedented. It kind of reminds me of that 6-game stretch that in 2021 Actually, a 7-game stretch where, well, it was more of a 5-game stretch where it was a slump for Mahomes. But then he pulled out of it and then had his final 5 or 6 games were like Pro Bowl worthy, MVP worthy, and led the Chiefs all the way back to the AFC Championship game and almost to another Super Bowl. That was the year they lost to the Bengals in the AFC Championship game. As a Chiefs fan, I think I've picked the Chiefs every single week. Now, in my preseason picks, look at this. I did pick them to lose to the Packers. Of course, I picked them to beat the Eagles. I picked them to lose to the Chargers. I have not done well with my preseason picks on the Chiefs. The reason why I picked them to lose to the Packers is because I thought the Packers were going to be a much better team than they are. Sitting at 6-6, the Packers have really struggled and they've been inconsistent. I thought they would be a lot better than they were. They still possibly could make the playoffs. Right now, they're actually in the playoffs if it were to end today, but I still think they have an uphill battle. But back to this game. Look, the Chiefs are who they are. There's no one coming in to save them this year. And Andy Reid off a loss is almost better than Andy Reid off a bye. That being said, I'm going with the Bills to win. I think the Chiefs have enough internal struggle and strife going on right now with their receiving core, with their injuries on defense. Brian Cook now lost for the season. Drew Tranquill is probably not going to play. We don't know if Nick Bolton's going to be back. The Bills are going to feast over the middle, and I think Josh Allen is going to be so amped up for this game. I see this. Not only do I see the Bills winning this game, I see the Bills winning this game by 17, 21 points. I think the Chiefs completely fall apart in this game, and there's going to be so many questions next week after they lose. There's going to be so many questions about, what direction do they go in from here. Now, I do think they win the rest of their games, and I do think they finish at 12-5. And still have an outside shot at the 1 seed, even at 12-5. But more than likely, the Chiefs are the 2 or the 3 seed this year, and they're gonna have to win 3 games just to get to the Super Bowl, which I don't see that happening now. I picked them to go to the Super Bowl before the season. Obviously, that pick is probably going to be wrong. I hope it's not. I hope it's right. But yeah, they're not doing enough, and it's more a deal with the injuries now on defense. And I think Buffalo is really going to take advantage of that. And I don't think the Chiefs receivers and I don't think their offensive line is playing well enough to negate what Buffalo can do on defense. Now, they've not been as good this year as years past on defense. But yeah, I don't see the Chiefs winning this game. I see the Buffalo Bills actually winning kind of in a blowout. And there's going to be a lot of questions about the Chiefs. I hope I'm wrong, 100%. Hope I'm wrong, and I hope next week I'm talking about how I missed this game, and I'm saying, man, out of all the 15 games, I went 14-1, and I missed my own team. But hey, that's just how I see it this week. Denver taking on the Chargers. This, like I said earlier, I am picking the Chargers to win this game. I am going to pick them to cover the 3 points as well. Denver, when they went on their 5-game winning streak, they had unprecedented turnover luck, and last week that luck didn't hold true, and they finally were not able to turn over their opponent. And what happened? They lost the game. Denver they have to depend on turnovers to win, and when you don't get them, you lose. Now the thing with the Chargers is that they will turn the ball over. They are a sloppy team. I see this as a lines at 43.5. I'd actually take the under on this game. I think this is going to be a sloppy, low-scoring game, a defensive struggle, so to speak. And I see the Chargers coming out on top of this. I actually see the Chargers coming back and scoring a touchdown late and winning the game like 17-12, 17-13. I see them covering the 3 points, but just barely. And then beating Denver here, and then they'll be 2 games back of the Chiefs. But yeah, I think the Chargers do pull this out, and for one more week at least, they stave off Brandon Staley being fired. All right, game of the week. Seems like the Eagles playing the game of the week every single week now. It seems like that. Eagles, obviously, they were riding a kind of a wave of emotions after winning multiple games against really good teams. Dallas right now, though, other than San Francisco, I think Dallas is playing the best football of anybody in the NFL. Dak Prescott, in my opinion, is the leader. Is the number one candidate right now for MVP. Even though Vegas says it's Brock Purdy, I wholeheartedly disagree with that. I say wholeheartedly disagree. I mean, I could see an avenue for that to happen, but I think Dak right now is number one with a bullet, and he's carrying his offense, which is something that I don't think we've ever said that before. At least he would carry them from game to game at certain points, but he has been the most consistent player on that team this season. Now the question with the Cowboys is that can they beat a really good team, or because they've struggled with some bad teams, and their three losses, they've lost to the Eagles, they lost to the 49ers, and then they lost to the Arizona Cardinals for all. I don't know. I still don't know how that happened. But this game is at home, and Dallas has had this game circled ever since they just barely lost to the Eagles the first time. They should not have lost to the Eagles in Philadelphia. I am picking Dallas to win this game, and I'm going to pick them actually to win by more than 3.5. And then it's going to start asking a lot of questions among Eagles fans and among the media is that what's happening to the Eagles? I don't think anything's happening to the Eagles. I think they're just kind of regressing to the mean. They've had, I hate to use this term, but they've been kind of lucky. They've just had good fortune on their side over the past 3 to 4 weeks, other than the 49ers game. And they very easily could be 7-5 right now, but they're 10-2. So you do have to give them credit for closing out games. And I really like Jalen Hurts. I think he's very mature for his age. Like I mentioned before, I'm not a big Nick Sirianni fan, but I do see the Cowboys getting this win. I see them winning actually fairly. I'm going to say by 10 points, but it'll be a double digit win for the Cowboys as they pull even with the Eagles in the NFC East. And then we have 2 Monday night games this week. We have the Tennessee Titans and the Dolphins, and then we have the Packers and the Giants. So I don't want to spend a ton of time here because neither of these games are going to be, I think they're going to be that great. I am going to pick the Dolphins to beat the Titans, but I am going to pick the Titans to cover that 13 points. I think Miami's going to come out strong, but Tennessee can make games into rock fights. We've seen that countless times where they turn a great offense, and just kind of slow them down, make the game ugly. I see Miami winning this game, 28 to 20, 28 17, something like that. I see them winning by double digits potentially, but 13 is just a big number. So I'm going to go ahead and take the points and the Titans in that. And then the final game is the Packers and the Giants. And like I said several weeks ago, I'm never picking the Giants to do anything ever again. Now, I am going to pick the Packers to win this game. I do see a path, though, for the Giants to win, though. The Packers coming off they've been wildly inconsistent this year. But on this recent streak they've been on, Jordan Love has been playing very, very good football. And if he can keep it up, if Jordan Love can play the same type of game he played against the Chiefs, which is a better defense than the Giants, then they should beat the Giants by 2 touchdowns at least. And that's what I'm actually picking, is to cover the 6.5 points. That being said, if Love goes back to what we saw in the early part of the season, especially the first month, the Giants could rise up and steal a game here. And with the momentum that the Packers got from upsetting the Chiefs, on Sunday Night Football this past week, they want to make sure they cash in on all this good mojo, so to speak. So I do see the Packers getting the win here. Again, it's the Giants at 4 wins. I'm actually surprised that they're at 4 wins. They're just not a good football team. And even with Daniel Jones, they weren't a good football team. So I don't know how they won 9 or 10 games last year where they finished 9-7 or 10-7, something like that. So, they were 9-7-1 because they had a tie. So. All right, well, those are my picks here. Let's review them real quick. So let's review straight up. I have the Steelers over the Patriots, Falcons over the Buccaneers, Lions over the Bears, Bengals over the Colts, Browns over the Jags, Saints over the Panthers, Texans over the Jets, Ravens over the Rams, Vikings over the Raiders, Niners over the Seahawks, Bills over the Chiefs, Chargers over the Broncos, Cowboys over the Eagles, Dolphins over the Titans, and the Packers over the Giants. Is that going to be a perfect week? I hope it's not a perfect week because I want my Chiefs to win. But like I said, I'm picking the Bills to win this game just because I think that they're better prepared coming off a bye. They're 6-0 under Josh Allen after a bye. I think they're going to be 7-0. All right. Those are my picks, guys. If you like these picks, hey, give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to my channel for more content, and I will talk to you next week. See you guys.